Welcome to part one of social media strategy. My name's Deborah Goodall. I'm here at the stunning Normanby Hall in northeast Lincolnshire, a beautiful museum and country park set in 300 acres. A well worth a visit, if simply for the stunning walled kitchen garden. So to start with social media strategy, I'll just frame a bit of research done by the Chartered Institute of Marketing, which was published in October 2020. And they got three key findings out of their research. One, not enough strategy. Two, too little audience insight. And three, misunderstanding of key metrics. So let's just take those for a minute. So not enough strategy. So really, by the end of these sessions, what I'm hoping is that you will have some strategy to your social media. But what they found was that social media really needs insight and direction to thrive. And there's kind of a balance between reactivity and strategy. And what they saw was a lot of businesses being reactive and not enough being planned. Too little audience insight. So they saw a lot of brands still concentrating on sales and sales messages rather than community and social engagement, because it is social media. And three, the misunderstanding of key metrics. So what they saw a lot of was the use of vanity metrics, so looking at numbers of followers, number of people liking things but not fully engaging in conversing with people online. So they highlighted a need to measure engagement and really then to take that and look at conversion rates. So actually start and think about the quality of the traffic that's coming from your social media channels to your website, or the quality of the traffic that's coming from your social media channels that are picking up the phone and making an inquiry. So the volume of inquiries or sales should really feed into the basis of your KPIs. So from this session, by the end of it, you'll really sort of know where you are at the moment and actually where you want to go. We'll look at defining your target audience really clearly, and hopefully you'll be confident about your objectives and how to achieve them. To start with your social media activity, it's really important to kind of take a step back from the digital world and think about what makes a good conversation. So these two ladies having a coffee, glass of wine, whatever, sitting on that bench, they're having a good laugh, you know, they're kind of enjoying some banter that they've had between themselves. So think about actually what makes a good conversation. You know, and there's stuff in there that's about it being relevant to the person that you're talking to, about it being timely, maybe a bit of humour, you know, you want to encourage people to laugh, or, you know, maybe some sort of emotional support. There's lots of different things that help make a good conversation. And there's also something about the environment in which you're in. So it might be that you use different language or you speak in a slightly different way, maybe when you're at work, than you do when you're socialising with your friends, you know, potentially at a pub or, you know, just having a coffee somewhere. The key thing with making a really good conversation is to be a good listener. With social media, it's important to think about all of those elements of making a good conversation, because whilst conversation is sort of typically one-to-one or one-to-a-few, on social media what you're trying to do is replicate that in a digital environment. So to create a good sort of digital conversation, and whilst it's not specifically one-to-one, you want to get that feeling that the person at the end feels like you are speaking to them, but also you are listening to them. When thinking about social media, it's really easy to fall into the trap of just thinking about, you know, the big four: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. But there's so much choice out there. This is just a little snapshot of opportunities that you potentially could be right for your business. And it really comes down to understanding your target audience and where they hang out. So if you were trying to reach a much younger demographic, it might be that you use something like Snapchat. If you're trying to reach super sporty people, then it might be that you use Strava. So I did the launch for a cycling event, and we used a combination of Strava and Twitter at that time to launch that event, because we could seek out the right people to engage with on both of those platforms and create a group of people who would follow the event. So try and think about where are your target audience, not necessarily which is the best social media site for you to use, i.e. not the one that you're necessarily most comfortable on, but the one that your customers are most comfortable on. Ultimately, social media is just the vehicle. It's absolutely the same as direct mail or advertising. It's just one of a few communication tools that you can use. It's really important to think about conversion rates. It's about you getting the people to go from social media to wherever you are going to turn them into a transacting customer. So you want the right people to come through that pipeline. It's pointless putting lots of effort into building fans or followers if they don't ultimately become customers. It's also important to think about social media away from your own page or your group. Social media is now also used as a bit of a research tool. So there's a traditional marketing model: awareness, interest, desire, consideration, action. And if we kind of take that and think about it in terms of where people are now using social media as part of that funnel, then it might be that people are looking for a holiday and they have an awareness of Lincolnshire. And then there's something very specific that they're looking for. So it could be that they don't actually start with search that would end up at your website. They might ask their friends. They might ask their friends if they've ever been to Lincolnshire and where they've stayed and what they enjoyed, because their friends will likely like the same things that they do, because we all hang out with people who have the same interests as ourselves. And then they might do a bit more research and get to that sort of desire stage and start looking at your website or maybe look at your social media pages and start getting excited about the prospects of coming to Lincolnshire and staying in your coastal cottage. But then they might have a few options, and so they're back to consideration. So do they look at your social media pages and think, oh, do you know what? I really like the way that owner engages with every post that people put on there. And there's a little community of people saying how fabulous their holiday was. Actually, that's the place for me. Or do they look at your social media page and think, actually, do you know what? They've not posted for 6 months. Is that because they're really busy, or is it because they don't really care? So think about actually what you're projecting that might influence people at that consideration stage. And then they're going to take action or make a decision. So at that point, are they going to make a booking with yourself, or are they going to go somewhere else? Social media is also important to integrate with your other marketing activities. So it's in itself, it will have an impact on your search results because you are seen as an active brand. But there's sort of opportunities across other marketing activities that you want to be exploiting if you're undertaking social activity. So if you're running display adverts, then are you including your social addresses? If you're putting content out on other platforms, are you including your social addresses? In your email campaigns, are you directing people to the social media channels that you're using? Does your website connect with your social activity? You know, and does it all hook together under a campaign? Are all the messages tied together, or is it very disparate? So they might go to your social media and it might be saying something a little bit different to what they've seen on your website. So there's a bit of a disconnect, and they get there and they go, that's not what I was expecting. So they go away again. Thanks for joining me on session 1 of your social media strategy. I hope that it's kind of opened your eyes to the opportunities that are out there In session 2, we'll look at goal setting and target audiences.